this tutorial, we'll explore creating a new document in InDesign, including spreads, we'll lay out master pages, and apply automatic page numbering. Open up InDesign and click the Create New button. We'll make this a letter-sized document. You can check your unit of measurement and make sure it's set to inches. And we'll have it 8.5 inches wide by 11 inches high, which is a portrait orientation. For number of pages, let's put in 3. InDesign documents can contain a large number of pages that are either facing or non-facing pages. Facing page documents are 2 or more pages next to each other, as in a book or a magazine layout. Examples of non-facing page documents are a business card or a flyer. For this document, we're going to be setting up spreads. So we want to select the Facing Pages box. We can start numbering on page 1. And if I scroll down to the margins area, we'll make a 0.5 inch margin all the way around, and also a 0.125 inch bleed all the way around. Click the Create button. And as I quickly take a look at my document, I can see that page 1 is in a single page format, but if I scroll down to pages 2 and 3, I can see that they're in a spread format, side by side. I have my Pages panel open here, and that also has the same layout. Single page number 1, and then 2 and 3 side by side in a spread format. First thing we need to do is save our document. Let's go up to File, Save As, and we'll navigate into our Adobe Design Suite folder. Open up that folder and we'll make a new folder. We'll name this one Lab 05-ID-Master Pages. Double click to open up that new folder, and then we'll name the file. I'll leave the file extension .indd, and I can highlight just the entitled. We'll replace it with your last name. -05-ID-Master Pages .indd. I'll double check that I'm in the correct folder, lab number 5, ID Master Pages. Hit the Save button. Now I want to be looking at the same workspace that the rest of you are on. So one thing that we can do to reset our workspace is up in our Workspace switcher box. It may say Essentials, it may say one of these other items. We'll be working in the Essentials workspace, and I had previously moved some panels around, so what I'll do is reset Essentials, and it'll snap everything back to the original Essentials location, and then we'll be looking at the same workspace. Up in the right sidebar, you'll see that you're probably on your Properties panel right now. So this is giving us the overall information about the document that we've set up. It's very similar to the new document dialog box right here. I don't have any items selected, so it's giving us those document properties. You'll see to the right of where it says Properties, there's a tab that says Pages. The Pages panel is used to provide information about the pages, have control over the pages, spreads, and master pages. It's split up into two halves. The top portion of our Pages panel has our master page options, and the bottom portion are our live pages. You'll see that there is a line separating those two areas, and if I hover my mouse right over it, I get a double line with two arrows. If I click and drag, I can expand that top portion a little bit because we'll add additional master pages, and I want to be able to see both portions of that Pages panel. Right now, again, we only have those 3 pages in this document. That's what we set up in the new document dialog box. You can also add pages once you're inside of the InDesign document. You'll notice at the bottom of your Pages panel there's a plus sign. If I hover over it, it says Create New Page. And that would just automatically start adding pages at the end of your document. Up in the Pages drop-down menu, you'll see a little box that has some additional lines on top of it. Whenever you see that, that opens up additional menu options for that corresponding panel. So right inside of there you'll see Insert Pages, and I can insert pages here with some additional criteria to use. So we're going to add 4 additional pages, and our document is blank right now. It really kind of doesn't matter where those new pages would be inserted, but you do have the option to tell it exactly where you want those new pages placed. Do you want it before or after a certain page, at the start or the end of the document? And you could also apply a master page right away to those pages. So we only have a master applied. All InDesign documents, you'll notice when you open them up, they'll automatically have a master applied. So we'll just keep that option for now. Just make sure you add 4 pages, click OK. And now if I look in the lower portion of my Pages panel, I can see I have 7 pages and 4 spreads. And I can scroll through the live document and see that as well. Let's save our document, File, Save. And now we'll start talking about the master pages. Master pages allow you to add formatting and layout options to objects, and then be able to automatically format other pages or spreads in the document with those same items. So it's almost like a template. We can navigate to the master pages versus the live pages, and it can be a little confusing sometimes determining which page you're on. So right now, if I look in the lower left corner of my workspace, you'll see that it gives you a page number box. So this is your live page number that you're on. That's kind of the most trustworthy way. If I click on page 5, I just selected it once. It technically didn't just move me to that page. I would have to double click that page, maybe double check here. Okay, I'm on page 5. That's what's selected. That's what I'm on. Now if I were to double click on one of the A master thumbnails in the Pages panel, now in that page number box it's showing me I'm on the A master. So especially when we don't have any items applied to these pages yet, it can be a little confusing. I just recommend that you keep an eye on what that page number box is saying in that lower left corner. So I am on my A master, and we are going to apply new master pages. In the panel menu, in the upper right hand corner of the Pages panel, click that and we'll select New Master. So we're going to end up with 3 different sets of master page spreads. InDesign names the prefix of your spreads A, B, C, so on and so forth. So I will keep my prefix set as B. I'll leave the A master that's already there, and I'll go down to where it says Name Master. So our B master is going to be Photoshop. If we had master page elements that we wanted to base this master off of, we could apply that, but we'll keep ours set to none. We want to add in 2 additional pages. We want to keep that spread format. And this is a nice way to add in additional pages that might not be the same size as the rest of the document. This is where you can add in those page size formatting. We're going to consistently keep our document in a letter page size format. So select the OK button. And now in the top portion of my Pages panel, I can see I have the B Photoshop master added and the 2-page thumbnail there. We should save our document, File Save. And we'll go back up to the Pages panel menu icon, and we'll go back down to New Master. I can see the prefix has been changed to C. We'll keep that. And now where the name is, we'll change this one to Illustrator. We'll base it on Master None, number of pages 2, and a letter page size document. So really the only thing we're changing here are the names of these masters. We'll click the OK button, and now I can see I have C Illustrator master pages with the 2-page spread thumbnails there. Let's save our document. And to keep our master naming consistent, let's rename A master. So I will double click on the word A master, and I'll go to the Pages panel options. This time we'll select Master Options for A master. We'll keep the prefix set to A, but we'll rename it to InDesign based on Master None, number of pages 2. Click OK. So now we have A Master InDesign, B Master Photoshop, and C Master Illustrator. And all of my live pages, pages 1 through 7 on the lower portion of your Pages panel, they should all have a little A icon in the corners of those pages. So like I said earlier, InDesign automatically adds the A master to all documents and also automatically applies that A master to all pages. So if you're not going to be putting any items on your master, it really doesn't matter because it won't show up on those live pages. But we want to be able to set up our spread formatting once and then be able to easily apply it to multiple pages so that we didn't have to keep redoing it. So I am on my A InDesign master. I can double click on those page thumbnails, and I'm also going to double check my page number box in the lower left corner. So now if I open up that menu, you can see you can navigate to pages 1 through 7 and also to your 3 master pages that we've set up. I want to be on my A master, and if I click the F key on my keyboard, it changes to my rectangle frame tool. So we'll put a couple sidebars in. We'll start with the left sidebar. I'm going up to the upper left bleed corner, and I'll drag open my sidebar till it's about maybe about 1.25 inches wide, and it's 11.25 inches high. I'll release my mouse and I can see the blue bounding box. I like to go back to my selection tool, V on your keyboard, and I still have that new frame selected, and we'll place one of our pictures in there. So let's go up to the File menu, down to Place. You'll navigate into your Adobe Design Suite folder and then open up your Photo Library folder. And I'd like you to select one of your images to use. And I can adjust the positioning and the size of my graphic. But first, I'll save my document. If I double-click inside that frame, now I can see I have a brown bounding box, and this is the bounding box for my graphic itself. So I would like for it to go completely from the top edge to the bottom edge, and I want to keep my proportions intact. So I'll go to one of the corner handles, hold my Shift key down to keep those proportions, and I can drag open my image to a little bit larger scale. What I could also do, I can see I have the hand as my cursor. If I click and hold my mouse key down, I can drag that picture to a different positioning. Let's save our document. I just changed my picture, but I did want to point out that you are the designer, so you can have your sidebar whatever size or positioning you want. I just ask that you have a sidebar on each page, and if you are seeing a lower resolution version of your picture, you can always go up to the View menu and select Overprint Preview. Okay, so I'm holding down my space bar on my keyboard right now just so I can nudge my document window over a little bit. I'll save my document, File, Save. I'm on my selection tool, or V on your keyboard, and I have my image selected. I'm going to duplicate this graphic frame and put one over on the right side spread. So what I could do is I could go up to the Edit menu and I could copy this. And then if I go back up to the Edit menu, I could paste it. And it pastes it usually towards the center of the screen, but I'll click inside that new graphic and I'll bring it over to the right side spread up into the bleed margin corner. So if I zoom in here, you can see the red line is my bleed edge, so my frame goes right up to that. So I have a spread now with a graphic on each side. Save your document. Right now, both of these images are exactly the same positioning. We're going to take the image on the right and transform it and flip it horizontally. So I'm on my selection tool. I have the right sidebar frame selected, the entire frame, not just the graphic inside. So take a look at your bounding box. It should be blue. And I'm going to switch to the Properties panel. So in the upper right hand corner you can click Properties. The first thing I'll do is I'll take a look at this grid. It's got 9 tiny squares. This is our reference point. And we already positioned this right sidebar where we want it, but we want to flip the graphic so that it's a mirrored reflection of the other side. So we want that reference point to be set right to the center. And that's what all of these numbers are based off of, is that reference point. If I click in any one of these other boxes, you can see those numbers change. I'll keep it set to the center though, and I could use the flip horizontal icon that's in the transform panel. So it's the third icon in for me, flip horizontal. And now if you look at my two sidebars, they are reversed from each other. Let's save the document. And I'll go back over to the Pages panel now. And if I take a look at my live pages, pages 1 through 7, I can see I have that sidebar added to those thumbnails. So because that A master is applied to all the pages right now, everything that I place onto the master page will also be added to those live pages. Let's take a look at one of those live pages. If I double click on page 2, I double check in the lower left corner that I am on page 2. I'm on my selection tool. And if I tried to select this graphic on either side of the spread of those live pages, it's not letting me. It locks those master page elements down so that they're not accidentally moved or deleted or altered. So you can override that, but we are fine with keeping all of those locked down. You would just need to go back up to your master pages if you wanted to make changes. So we'll make sure that we're back on the InDesign master. And now we can add some text headers to our document. T on your keyboard takes you to your type tool. And we'll just make some simple headers near the top. I can use that top margin and drag open a text frame. I see I have a blinking cursor inside. And for this spread, I'll type in InDesign. I'll drag my cursor across that word, and we're still in our Pages panel right now. If I click the Properties tab, that brings me to our character, paragraph formatting, the appearance and fill colors for our text. So we can select a new font if you would like. I'll click the arrow to the right of that font name and choose a new font. I selected my font. I can go underneath to the font size, the small t next to the larger t, and adjust the font size. Now if I did go too far and run out of space in my bounding box, you might see a little red square with a red plus sign in it, and that means that your text has extended beyond the boundaries of that text frame. So you might need to adjust the size of the frame or bring your font size down. If you want to change the color of your text, you can go up to where it says Fill and click inside the T that's black. It's in a white square, and then that opens up your color options. The first set is our swatches, so we can choose another color. My text is selected right now, so if I want to see what the color looks like, I can click out. Now I've chosen my font color, and font size. I'll go up to Save the Document, File, Save, and we're ready to duplicate this to the right side spread. I'll go up to the Selection tool, the black arrow, and select the text frame. So the bounding box is blue. I can scooch over using that space bar. I can hold the space bar down and drag to navigate around my document. And I can copy and paste the text frame over. So once you have that selected, you can go up to the Edit menu, Copy, back up to the Edit menu, and Paste. So now I have two, and I'll use that inner margin as my snap-in point. And you could see when I do that, these green guides appear, and that's indicating that that's perfectly lined up with the other text frame. And that's what we want. But if I'm looking at both of these headers, they're both left aligned, which is fine. But if we want to stay with the mirrored sidebar layout, what we can do is double click inside that right InDesign text frame, and I'll make sure I select the whole word. And if I go down to my Properties panel, and you might need to scroll down a bit to locate the Paragraph panel, and you'll see right now my text is aligned left. I'm going to select Align Right. Go back to the Selection tool, and I can save my document. Next, let's put in a background colored frame. M will bring you to your rectangle tool. It's a rectangle without the X inside. So it's basically a frame, but usually means that you're going to do some formatting to it and not necessarily place a graphic inside. I can zoom in on the left side spread if I need to. And I'll start in the upper left bleed corner, and I realize that I'm overlapping things, and I'll drag down to the center line and the bottom bleed guide. There we go. So that comes out to 8.625 inches wide by 11.25 inches high. I'll release my mouse, and if you need to adjust it, you can. You can use your selection tool, and you can adjust those corner handles. You can also edit, undo things if you need to as well. Otherwise, in my transform panel, I can also adjust the X, the Y. These are going to be the location of the frame. So if I changed my reference point to the upper left corner, which would be right here on that frame, it's showing me the X location axis is negative 0.125 by the Y, which is negative 0.125. Also, it's telling me the width is 8.625 and the height is 11.25. I'll zoom out a little bit and keep that frame selected. And if I look over here in my appearance panel, mine is showing me that I have none applied to the fill and the stroke colors. It looks like a white box with a red stripe through it. I'm going to click inside fill, and I could choose, I think I just want to maybe do a grayscale. So I could choose black, and I realize that it's covering everything right now. We'll adjust that in a moment. And I wanted to do more of a gray. So I see that once I selected black, this tint box appears. So right now it's at 100% of black. I could bring that down to maybe 20 tint, and that's a gray. And that's all great and all, but it's covering everything that we put previously. What we need to do to this colored frame now is adjust the arrangement of it. So if we go up to the Object menu at the top, down to Arrange, we would normally, I have them grayed out right now because it's in the front of the stacking order of these objects, but it's giving us the option to send backwards, and what that does, it would send it back or one object at a time. If I go back up to Object, Arrange, Send Backwards, okay, now I see the text frame appearing. My other option up there was Object, Arrange, Send to Back, and what that would do is send it back to the very bottom of the stacking order of the objects, and that's what we want. So now I see my sidebar and my text back in there, and we can copy that colored frame, edit, copy, edit, paste, and we'll move that new frame over to the right sidebar. It should fit perfectly in the center line all the way out to the edges of the bleed line. And now we need to change the arrangement of that frame. Object, Arrange, Send to Back. Save your document. And I'll click back up on my Pages panel. And again, I see all of the pages have this A master applied to it right now. We'll adjust that, but for now that's fine. I'm still on my A master InDesign page, and next what we'll do is apply automatic page numbering. You can add a current page number marker to the master pages to specify where that page number will sit on the live pages and how it's going to look. Because a page number marker updates automatically, the page number it displays is always correct, even if you add or remove or rearrange your pages in the document. Page number markers can be formatted and styled as text. So we'll go to our Type tool, and I can zoom in to where I want to position my page numbering. At the bottom of my toolbar, I can see I have the zoom tool. Z on your keyboard will also take you to that. And I can just click once and release, that'll zoom me in. I can also click and drag to zoom in on a specific area. So I am going to put my page number kind of near the lower portion of the sidebar. I have to go back to my Type tool, And I'll drag open a text frame. I see my blinking cursor. And what we'll do is designate this as a page number marker. We'll go up to the Type menu at the top, down to Insert Special Character, over to Markers, and then you'll see Current Page Number. It's quite a bit of a trail. It's the Type menu, Insert Special Character, Markers, Current Page Number. And you'll see that it puts an A in there. And that's indicating that it's a page marker located on the InDesign master page. So what we'll do is save our document, File, Save, and I will select that A, and we can format it like any other text we would be working on. So I'll go back to my Properties tab on the right sidebar, and I can change the font, and I could change the font size. If you want to change the font color, you can. I would like to position my text frame so that it's sitting on that margin guide. So I'll go back up to my selection tool at the top, the black arrow, and I can adjust the bounding box. I can grab the handles and move it around that way. I can also just click inside that frame and I can manually adjust it this way too. I can do a Control-0 on a PC or a Command-0 on a Mac to fit page on screen. And I'm on my selection tool. We need to copy and paste our page number over to the right side spread. So I will make sure I select that text frame of the page number, go up to the Edit menu, copy, go back up to the Edit menu, and paste. I will drag it down so that there's my green guides helping me out, telling me that those frames are aligned with each other, and also that the right sides of the frame was aligned with my header. I'll zoom in down to that right sidebar page number box. Now I'd like that page number to be sitting on the right edge of this text frame. So if I double click inside and select that A, I'm in my Properties panel on the right side. You might need to scroll down to locate your Paragraph panel, and I'll select Align Right. Zoom out. I'll go back to my selection tool and save the document. Let's go back to our Pages panel. I'm going to see if I can increase the size of my thumbnails so that we can see them a little bit easier. I'm going to change the pages to extra large, and also I'll bring my masters up to extra large and click OK. This might help everyone be able to see what I am looking at a little bit easier. So my live pages all have that A master applied to them. I'm going to double click on page 2, and I can see down in the lower left corner I am on page 2. And now when I look at these page numbers, it says 2 and 3. So it understands automatically what page number needs to be applied. If I keep scrolling down, here's page 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. So if you don't see those page numbers visible on the live pages, something might be off. If you see an A instead of the actual page numbers, it's because the page number marker wasn't applied correctly. So go back through the steps to convert it to a page number marker. Now we're ready to start setting up our B Photoshop master pages. These next two masters will go a lot faster because we'll use the items that we created on the A master kind of as a template for us. So I'll double click to be back on the A master page, and we need to select all of the items on the A master spread. One way we can do that is by going up to the Edit menu and choosing Select All. And now it's selected all of the graphics and frames and text frames that I've placed in this document. We're going to copy, edit, copy, and this time we'll go to our B Photoshop master pages. So I can double click on B Photoshop master, and we want to paste those objects in to the B master exactly in the same spot that they were located on the first master. So this time in the Edit menu, I'll choose Paste in Place. And that positions everything exactly how we did it on the first master. If I zoom down onto the automatic page number, this one should say B, indicating that we're on the B master. Let's save the document. And now we're ready to customize the B master Photoshop spread. Using my selection tool, I'll select the left sidebar graphic, go up to the File menu, Place. Select my image and click the Open button. I can go up to the Object menu, Fitting, Fill Frame Proportionately, and then if I double click inside, I can move my graphic around. I'll go to the right spread sidebar and delete it. So I can hit the delete key on my keyboard, and that deletes it. Save your document. I'll make sure that that sidebar image is selected. Go up to my Edit menu, copy, then back up to the Edit menu and paste. Drag that new graphic frame over to the right sidebar bleed margin. In my Properties tab, under Transform, I'll make sure my reference point is set to the center, and then I'll locate Flip Horizontal. Now I'll change the headers to say Photoshop. So I can double click inside of that InDesign text frame, and you'll see you're now on the type tool. I can type out Photoshop and select my text. and I'll change the fill color of it. I can go back to the fill color swatches, select a new color. If I click to the side, then I can see what it looks like in that color. This color is fine, but maybe I want to match it to a color that's in my picture. So one thing I could do is locate my eyedropper tool. It's an eye on your keyboard to get to it, but you do need to be careful about using those keyboard shortcuts when you're on your type tool, because it might think that you want to type out that letter instead. So your color theme tool might be in the foreground of that set of tools, but if I click and hold that toolbar down, it reveals the additional tools hidden underneath, and I can select the eyedropper tool. I can click inside my picture to sample the color, and that actually just filled the frame instead of the character. So I'm going to undo that, and maybe what I could do is I'll select my text using my type tool. Now go back to my eyedropper tool, click to take a sample of the color, and now I can see it took on that color I took a sample of from my picture. I can delete where it says InDesign on the right side of the spread. Using my selection tool, I'll select the Photoshop text frame and go up to the Edit menu, copy, back up to the Edit menu, and paste. I'll drag it up using the inside margin guide, and then I'll double click inside that text frame so I see my blinking cursor. Select the text and locate my paragraph panel so I can change the alignment to align right. I'll go back to my selection tool and just click out. So that's pretty much all I'm going to do. We'll make a third customized master page for C Master Illustrator and then apply it to our live pages. Let's save our document. And now we're ready to move on to the C Master. I'm on my selection tool, and I'll go up to the Edit menu, select all. So I have all of my objects selected. I'll go up to the Edit menu again and choose Copy. Now I'll navigate back to my Pages panel, and I'll double click on C Illustrator. So the C Illustrator master should be blank. There shouldn't be any elements in there right now. I'll go up to the Edit menu and choose Paste in Place. Save your document. And now we'll start making the same modifications to this C Master that we did for the last one. You might also notice that in your automatic text marker, it now says C. I'm on my selection tool. I'm on the C Master Illustrator, and I will replace the graphics. File, place, select your new image, click the Open button. I can delete the right sidebar by clicking the backspace key on my keyboard. I'll select the graphic frame, choose Edit, Copy, then back up to Edit, Paste, drag it into the bleed margin, go into my Properties panel. I can flip it horizontally and save the document. Now we can change the word to Illustrator. I'll type in Illustrator and select my text. I'll go to the fill color. Another way that we can pick out a color is by going to this second icon, color. And this gives you the rainbow spectrum. So you can click anywhere inside with that eyedropper and you'll see that your text color changes. I can select the text, I'll copy it, and then if I go over onto that right sidebar, I can go back up to Edit, Paste, I'll change my Align Right, and now we should have all 3 master pages completed. Save your document. I'll go back to the Pages panel so we can take a look at our thumbnails. So I can see that I have all 3 master pages are customized, different pictures, different headers, but the same layout. And if I scroll down to the bottom portion of the Pages panel, I can see that they're all still have the A master applied to them. So our next step is going to be applying the master page B to pages 4 and 5. So in the top portion of my Pages panel, I'll select the B left spread and drag and drop it down onto page 4. I'll take the right B master spread and drag it down on top of page 5. Now the same for the C master. Drag the C master onto page 6 and the C master onto page 7. If I double click now on page 2, let's take a look at our document. I can see my page numbers say 2 and 3, and that's the InDesign spread. If I scroll down, here's pages 4 and 5 with the Photoshop spread. And then pages 6 and 7 with Illustrator spread. If I scroll all the way up to page 1, it has the A master applied to it. This is going to be our cover page. So I'll make sure I can see page 1 in the page thumbnails, and in the top portion of the Pages panel, you'll see above the A master it says None, and there's a blank thumbnail there. I'm going to drag the None on top of page 1. So it should be completely blank there now. Let's save the document. And we're ready to place the cover page that we did in the last tutorial onto page 1. I'll go to F on my keyboard, which brings me to my rectangle frame tool, and I'll drag open a frame from the upper bleed edge down to the lower right bleed edge. If I click back on my properties panel, I can see the correct dimensions, and I'll go back to my selection tool, V as in Victor on your keyboard, and we'll place the PDF that we created in our cover page lab onto page 1. So with that frame selected, I'll go up to File, Place, and I'll navigate back into my Adobe Design Suite folder, into Lab 4, ID cover page, and I'll go inside of my packaged folder, and here's the PDF that we made. So I'll select that and tell it to open. If you want to check it out in Overprint Preview, you can, and it should fit in there pretty perfectly. You can always go up to your Object menu, Fitting, and I know I don't want to change the size. I just really want to make sure it's centered, so I could tell it to center content, and it looks good. Save our document again. And we're going to open up our links panel. Let's go up to the window menu, down to links. And this gives us a list of all of the images that we placed inside this document. I have no errors. You would want to make sure you take care of those errors first. Maybe you moved the file or something, so you would want to locate that missing file. Our graphic files can be either linked or embedded. When artwork is linked, it's connected to, but remains independent of the document. Embedded artwork is copied into the document at full resolution, making the document self-sufficient. We can embed all of our images that we used. So if I hold down my Shift key, I can select all of those links. And if I go to the drop-down menu in the Links panel, I can tell it to embed link. And then you'll see this embed icon appear next to each of those images. Now when you send me your InDesign document, I wouldn't need those images sent along in a separate format. It's all copied in one part of this InDesign document. We are ready to create our own PDF. So let's go up to the File menu, down to Adobe PDF Presets, High Quality Print. Make sure you're in the correct folder, Lab 5, ID Master Pages, and I'll keep the name of the file the same. It's just going to have a new file extension now, .pdf. Click the Save button, and now we're in our Export PDF Options dialog box. We are going to export all pages. We're going to export, instead of single pages, we're going to export as spreads. Let's view the PDF after exporting. On the left sidebar, go to Marks and Bleeds. I'll turn on Crop Marks. And I could also select the Use Document Bleed settings. It should show up as 0.125. Click the Export button, and it should open up Acrobat. I'll just hit OK on this background task. And here's my PDF open in Acrobat. If I look at the page numbers now, I can see that there's 4 pages in this document, and that's because we made the spreads. So those spreads went together on the PDF as one single spread page. I can see that I have my crop marks and 1/8 of an inch bleed. Control 0 on a PC, Command 0 on a Mac fit our page on the window. And now I can scroll down. So here's the second and third pages in a spread format. There's 4 and 5, 6 and 7. And that looks good. We can close the document. And I'll go back into InDesign, and I can close this document too. Next, I'll open up my Finder window or my folder navigation window. I'll navigate into folder Lab number 5, ID Master Pages, and I have 2 documents inside of here. I have my InDesign document and my PDF. So we're going to zip or compress these 2 files for submission. I'll select them both. And one way you could zip on a PC is if you click the Share tab, you'll see you have a zip icon located there. And it just zipped my file, kept it with the same name, and then added the .zip file extension. And that will be the file that you submit to Canvas. If you're on a Mac, you should just be able to right-click on that document and tell it to compress, and the same outcome will happen. It'll create that zipped file for you. So this tutorial we covered using master pages and putting down objects on those master pages. We applied automatic page numbering. We embedded our links and created our own PDF with spreads, bleeds, and crop marks. Thank you for watching.